Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Welcome to Unleashed at Work and Home. I'm Colleen Pilar, and this is where pet professionals come for honest conversations about what it really takes to show up for yourself while serving the animals you love. If you've ever felt caught between compassion and exhaustion, you're in the right place. Here we explore what it means to reconnect with your inner wisdom and rediscover the joy that brought you to this work. Make sure to join my email community at colleenpilar.com for gentle, practical insights designed specifically for pet professionals. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to Unleashed at Work and Home. My guest today is Valerie Bogie, and she's a veterinary social worker. I told Valerie before I hit record that I've had a couple veterinary social workers on the show, but each one has such a different niche that I wanted her to explain to us a little bit about what a veterinary social worker is and what it actually means for her. So welcome, Valerie. Tell us about you and what you do.
Thank you so much for having me, Colleen. And yes, I love that we are recognizing veterinary social work as a growing field. And I absolutely agree. There's just so many places it can go that makes it very exciting. And so I guess the easiest way to talk about what veterinary social work is I always just say, well, what's social work? That's helping people. What's the veterinary side of things? Helping animals, right? So you're at that, where those two meet, right? So you're helping the humans that are helping the animals. And reflecting on kind of your journey to what you do now, I saw a lot of similarities for my journey as well. So I was my first job was at a vet assistant at a vet clinic in my hometown. And then I knew I wanted to work in zoos and aquariums training animals. So I went and got my undergrad for that. And then I was training animals in zoos and aquariums across the country for over 16 years. And right, I'm sure you have the same feelings when people say, oh, you're a dog trainer. You play with puppies all day. That must be so fun, right? And you're like, that part's fun. And there's all of these other layers to it, right? So there's every other aspect of a job comes with the cool animals. So there's the conflicts with the coworkers. There's maybe a supervisor that you don't always agree with. There's the long hours. There's the fact that when you're taking care of amazing animals in zoos and aquariums, they need care 7 days a week. So you don't get normal weekends off. And so you have a missing out kind of feeling for family events or friends, birthdays and like all of those different things. And usually the pay's not great. Right? Because there's this huge supply and demand issue. I mean, everyone that I've ever talked to is like, oh, I wanted to do that when I grew up. And I can't believe you did that. I'm like, it was great. And I also had to, do dog walking and pet sitting and be a server at a restaurant. I always had a second job just to make ends meet. So that adds to it. Right. Yeah. So after all of the things and making it through COVID, which I think is interesting because a lot of people didn't recognize that the zookeepers and the people taking care of the animals in the aquariums and the people taking care of the systems for the aquariums and anyone, we were the front lines, right? As much as the medical staff for the, hospitals and doctors, which was so very, very needed. But I was still going to work every single day when everyone else was supposed to stay home. And so that was a kind of interesting feeling too, because we didn't really get the credit as like the first responder kind of aspect of the work, but we were risking our life. Like we had to go see each other and wear the masks and do all the, we had all the safety protocols in place. So that was just a really weird time in general for everyone I know. And then as like things were starting to somewhat go back to normal, I was just getting to this point where I was like, I'm tired. There are some interpersonal things going on with the coworker, and I just didn't feel supported by my institution. I was like, I think I need to take a step back. Is this just the sign that maybe there's something else that I'm supposed to be doing right now? So my husband and I left the city that we were living in and moved closer to his mom to help care for her. So long story arc, but just to say, like, that similar path of I loved working with the animals. That was not the issue. That is not the thing that brought me away from zoos and aquariums, right? So I just wanted to kind of start with that part of the journey, to highlight that, because I think there's a lot of parallels, whether you are a dog trainer, whether you are a veterinarian, a vet tech, you are walking dogs or a pet sitter, right? Any facet of vet or pet professional, I think a lot of us hit that point where you say, man, I love these animals. They need me, but also I'm tired. And I'm starting to recognize that because I'm not taking care of myself, I am not doing my best to take care of them anymore. And I think that's like such an important thing that has resonated with a lot of people that I have talked to. So I kind of wanted to highlight that part as well. And so, yeah, the tail end of the journey is I was like, yay, I'm unemployed. And then a friend of a friend said, hey, I have a veterinary behaviorist friend that needs a client care coordinator, fully remote. And I was like, ooh, okay, I could do that, because my husband already had a remote job. So that was the start of my time with Insight Animal Behavior Services, which is a board-certified veterinary behaviorist practice out of Chicago. So I'll hit 5 years in May, and I've been able to grow with the company, which has been such a valuable experience, because once I realized, I kind of like this veterinary social work kind of stuff. I did the veterinary human support certificate through University of Tennessee, which is geared towards animal professionals. And then that's when I decided to do the master's through UT, the vet social work certificate, graduated with all that. And then somewhere in there, I started my own business. And so it all just kind of, time is just a construct at this point where I'm like, what day is it? What am I doing? So as far as me, what does veterinary social work look like for Valerie? Half of my week is spent with Insight. So I am a trainer as well. So I do virtual dog and cat training sessions for our clients as a behavior consultant. And then I also am the director of our human support services. So I have different options for support groups, specifically for pet owners that have pets with behavior challenges that are alive, because we know the caregiver burden that comes along with that high level of caretaking, that high level of hyper awareness of who's coming out of the alley when I'm trying to walk my dog, or or I can't leave my house because my dog's separation anxiety is so severe, and things like that. So different options there. I also do one-on-one support sessions for pet owners. I also have a support group for behavioral euthanasia, because there's not enough of support for that specific niche as well. And then under my own business is kind of everything else. So I have professional coaching sessions for veterinary and pet professionals, as well as people trying to figure out their niche in, the veterinary social work and human animal bond career path. I do webinars and speaking and a little bit of everything. So similar to you, it sounds like too, where it's like, you've kind of found those different things that kind of sparkle for you and kind of light you up. And it sounds like you have just done the same thing, right? Where you're like, I like doing this. This is meaningful work for me now. And so I feel like you are a very kindred spirit for me, for sure.
I think so. Yeah, definitely kindred spirits here. And that's a lot since COVID. I mean, you've had some huge shifts in your life. Which, I mean, maybe it's my age showing, because COVID doesn't feel that long ago to me. But Y2K doesn't feel that long ago to me either. And for some people, that's very, very long ago.
Right.
But some very significant shifts of moving away, and then 2 totally new careers for you, your own business and then working with Insight. What's been the most surprising to you about life now versus life then?
I think it's just more manageable. It's more manageable. I think that while I miss my polar bears, I miss the whales and dolphins I've worked with, I miss the rhinos, so I miss all of the amazing animals that I had the opportunity to partner with, to learn from over my career. But I also think back to those times where I'm like, if I could have a conversation with those animals, I don't think they'd want me to be stressed out caring for them either, right? So I've kind of come to peace with that. Also, to me, that door's never shut. So if there's any point in my future, I'm like, I just want to be a zookeeper again, I can go down that path. To me, that door is always open. But I think one of the surprising things is especially with the master's program and learning more about social work in general. We talk about micro social work where that's really kind of helping like, one-on-one, so that could be case management, that could be therapy sessions, that kind of thing. It could, and then we go to the meso, which is kind of the middle where maybe we're thinking about like an entire company or an entire team or a community that we're supporting. And then there's the macro level, and that's really looking at the entire system, sometimes more policy change at like a state or a national level. And I think one of the most surprising things is like, I just like social work in general. And then you make it even cooler by adding the animal human bond in there. But what I also realized, because initially when I started that program, I was like, oh, I'll be a therapist. That makes sense. I really like, speaking with people and supporting people. Through my time and, there's these field placements, basically unpaid internships that you do during your, as part of the program, which is that learning experience that you need that's hands-on and really kind of putting you into some of these, potential career paths and things like that. And during that, I was like, oh, I think I'm more of a systems girly. I don't know that right, because there's like all these records and therapy notes and things that come along with being a therapist. So I completely respect anyone that does that job. So do not take that the wrong way. I'm just saying we all have different skills and things that we like to do. So I'm so thankful that there's those people that have found that is their passion. And what I found through my education, which I'm also very thankful for, I didn't start down the path and learn later on, was that if I can help the clients within the system, that is still reducing the stress for the pet owner or the pet professionals or the vet professionals. If I can help, teach or support the pet professionals and the vet professionals, that in turn helps them help the clients a little bit more. So I start to look at it more as like an entire system, in the same way that if I'm being contracted out by a vet clinic or a shelter or something like that, and we're starting to look at their policies and procedures, where I'm saying, are these supporting your staff? Because when I hear, oh, I don't get a lunch break, or oh, I don't get or I clock out and keep working. No. So there's something going on in the system that is not that individual's fault, right? So the system is failing them. So I think it's really the pendulum, I feel like, has swung, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that too, as far as, oh, everyone needs to work on their own self-care. Everyone needs to work on their own caregiver burden and burnout and, all of that stuff, to, I feel like it's starting to swing the other way, where we start to have organizations and companies that are taking a little bit more ownership of like, oh, it's not all just, we can't just pin it all on the individual employees and staff. We need to take a little bit more accountability for some of these kind of systematic and cultural issues that could be going on. So I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts about that.
Oh, I have so many thoughts. This is a show about you, but I'm going to throw a few thoughts in because you know me, I have so many thoughts. I agree completely. And it's tricky talking to people about any sort of boundaries or self-care, because it can imply that it is really their responsibility. And it's no, like, what can we do to support you while also addressing some of these systems pieces? And I've been involved in the Animal Advocates Welfare Project for a while now, and we've been doing support groups for people doing shelter and rescue work. And one of my group members mentioned recently that she has started taking a lunch break because she had been insisting that her staff do it, but not doing it herself. And she discovered that they weren't doing it, and it was so irritating. They weren't doing it. She was telling them, she was trying to support them, she was trying to say, take your break. And then all of a sudden she was like, but I'm not modeling it. And there's a little bit of that too, where it goes all the way through of like what we say we believe and what we show in our behavior that we believe. And she said it was tough for her to decide, I'm actually going to take this lunch break. And then when she did, she was like, and it's really kind of awesome. And sometimes I just sit in my car. But this experience of we are trying to help everyone do the best they can, and we're recognizing that it's not all set up beautifully. And with the best of intentions, we can convey a message that isn't the one we meant to send.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so I like your 3 levels. I am not a great person for sorting things into buckets. So that meso level is kind of capturing my brain at the moment too, of that there
Mm-hmm.
really is
Mm-hmm.
this middle ground,
Yeah.
as well. I love the people who have those brains who can just sort it and go like, well, that's a this or that's like fascinating. And I think I don't have diagnosed ADD, but I am betting that if we were to track that down, it's all just swirling around in my head like loose change
Mm-hmm.
up there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so so you had this passion in this career path that totally makes sense looking backwards. But I'm also guessing that there was probably a drive from the very beginning. And I love to ask people, when you were 10, what did you think you were going to do with your life? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
super curious. At 10, what did
Mm-hmm.
Valerie think? What was her
Mm-hmm.
plan?
I can tell you my 3 options because I wrote it. I had to draw some poster for a class, and my mom kept everything, so I might still have that poster somewhere. But my top 3 things I was interested in doing, one was being an artist for Disney. I maybe could have done cell painter. I was not really good. I could draw things, but I was not like Disney level. So that one kind of got kind of taken off the plate. The second one was I wanted to be an IndyCar driver because
Okay.
there wasn't a lot of, I don't even, that was like pre Danica Patrick, right? So I
Mhm.
was like, oh, there needs to be a woman driving Indy cars. And then the third one was I like probably many people went to SeaWorld as a young formative, young person and was just enthralled, right? Just the relationship, the joy on those trainers' faces as they're interacting with these giant animals that are doing these amazing things with their bodies, and then just come back for some fish. It was just like that entire relationship and the cause and effect of that, and was just really interesting to me. So the third one was a shamu trainer. So I went with that one, and here we are. So,
And here we are. Yeah.
yeah.
What a great list. And what a lovely 10-year-old list, I'm going to be an artist for Disney or an IndyCar driver or, you know, a, a whale trainer. Like, like,
Right.
like,
So, yeah, I since I graduated with my master's last year, then I also realized like I should probably walk the walk that I am, encouraging people to explore their own mental health and these things because again, I'm not a therapist. So I have been on my own mental health journey. So you mentioning maybe I have ADHD, that was my exact question. Right, as hindsight 2020 as I'm, taking these classes about the DSM-5 and what are some of these diagnoses, and it's not like how it shows up differently in females
mhm.
versus male. So yeah, I am happily medicated for ADHD. I am working with a therapist, and just trying to find that balance. I think the other part of it, as a female woman in her 40s, hormones are shifting, and so some of my previous systems that were helping me function more normally, as I do my air quotes over here, weren't working so well anymore. So that's where I'm like, okay, something needs to change, right? And so again, in the same way that I'm coaching others to explore these things with the professionals that can help them and things like that. That's where I'm like, okay, I'm curious enough, and I know enough now. I should probably start exploring this. I'm very, very fortunate, and I'm glad that I have been doing that because it's been a really great learning experience and kind of getting back to feeling a little bit more like myself because I was starting to get to a point where I'm like, am I lazy? Am I this? And, just having really hard
Yeah.
times sometimes throughout like my work day and my week and things like that. So,
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that because
yeah.
that is really common that as things shift, the judgment can get turned inward. Like, am I lazy? Am I
Mm-hmm.
unproductive? Am I messing it up? Am I dropping the ball? Am I? Without looking at like, well, what used to work for me no longer works for me. That doesn't mean that it was wrong in the past or that I'm wrong in the present. Like,
Mhm.
things change.
Mhm.
Things change and
Yep.
bodies change and hormones change and
Mhm.
all sorts of things can change. And that feeling that something needs to change, I think, is something that lots of people recognize.
Yeah.
The how to find out what that something is can be a super challenging piece of it. And so I was kind of happy to hear you say that you've been exploring it on a variety of levels,
Mhm.
different ways, because
Mhm.
we can be a little too close to our own situation sometimes to find that too.
Yep.
So, um, so what's something that's unrelated to work that you're willing to share with us that you have shifted that's had a positive effect just on how you feel just in general about your life or about your activities or about your health or anything? Just
Mhm.
something that's been a positive change.
Um, I guess it's kind of related to work, but to me, it's like a self-care thing, because in the same vein as, again, practice what you preach, uh, being trying to grow my own little small business myself, it is hard to turn off, and I wanna try to reply to people and do all of those things. So, one thing I do is one of the weekend days, I decide that is my no computer day where I'm not going to open my
Mhm.
laptop, and so I just again, it's the if I don't get to it today, that person's probably actually not working on the weekend, and I can schedule send for Monday, and it'll be okay. So that's something I've put into place that I think just gives me the permission that my brain needs to just not even worry about those things. The other thing that I have always had on my vacation reply. So my automated vacation reply is on my email all of the time. I say I'm going to reply in 3 business days. I might need to extend that because I'm getting more emails now, and sometimes it doesn't happen, right? And so yeah, just figuring some of those things out because again, if it's like day 1 and bling see it pop up in the email, and I'm like, oh, I can't do it right this second, and then need to circle back to it in a day or 2. I'm not feeling as guilty about that because I know they immediately got a response setting that clear expectation on their end. So I would say those are things that I've tried to help with some of my work-life harmony, to be able to help me be a little bit more present in my off time from work. Other things I've done self-care wise, I've been on a vegan diet for like 4 years. I haven't had any like alcohol in over 5 years. And those are things that I feel like I'm just giving my brain and my body the best chance. Like those are choices I made. No offense. I was
Mhm.
omnivore for the majority of my life. So if you eat meat, I'm not offended. I still prepare it for other people. It's not something I have any issues with. Those are just like health choices that I wanted to make for myself. Cause again, like, there's already enough bouncing around in my brain. So adding other substances to that was, not always the best choice. And then, um, yeah, I feel like health-wise, sometimes because of the decision fatigue and all other aspects of my life, if I can take some choices off the table, even if it's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, well, yeah, I don't eat bacon, I don't eat meat, I don't eat eggs, I don't eat animal products," in a way that's actually been helpful for me because I still eat chocolate. I still eat some of the sweet treats that I really like, but it has helped me focus more on like, oh, I need to eat more, beans and, greens and things like that. So those are things I feel like that in the long term have been helpful just for mind and body in general.
Yeah, those are very helpful. And I love that you gave some in different categories, which is kind of nice. Because again, one of the things that we talk about here all the time is that there isn't a one size fits all plan for people to help them feel better. It is a personalized journey. Like we have to figure out what works for you and what's going to help you, and it's different things for different people because they have different needs. I
Yeah.
also use an autoresponder, and it has helped me because I don't work on Wednesdays because I have my grandkids. And I found that I was like trying to race out during nap time and respond to emails. And then I was sending like not very coherent, well thought out. Like often on Thursday, there was oh yeah, and one more thing message. And so, but I felt I had some feelings about that because Wednesday is a work day. Wednesday is a work day. If someone emailed me Tuesday evening and I don't respond until Thursday morning, the world might end.
Mhm.
And it has not yet ended.
Mm.
So that was a lovely little revelation for me
Mhm.
that when my grandkids are napping, perhaps I could be napping as well, which is a much better use of my time and energy
Mm.
um, on a Wednesday. So,
Yeah.
so that autoresponder is such a simple little setting. Anyone can do it. Well, anyone with Gmail and anyone with Mac Mail. I don't know about
Mhm.
all systems, but most systems, I'm sure, have
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
That there can be a reply of some sort to set an expectation for anything because people are getting too many emails or well, yes, we're all getting too many emails, but also the idea that somebody will reply immediately isn't really accurate and isn't really necessary. When something is
Mm-mm.
urgent, people typically tell you this is urgent. I've got to
Right.
know by. And then you're
Right.
like, okay, well, this one can bump up that list if I also agree that it is urgent, because there's
Correct.
that piece too.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yes.
it is a tricky little piece for people because often we are so close to our own problems that we don't see the other way out. We have our own beliefs or our own, it's too rude to do this, or it would be bad to do
Mhm.
that, or it would mean I was irresponsible. And we're like, but is it?
Mhm.
Is it really? Let's
Mhm.
let's examine.
Mhm.
So, what's something that you've learned about yourself or the world through your work with animals?
Mm. I think we can learn a lot from animals if we listen.
Mhm.
Um, I think that, right, when we break it down, like we're speaking another language, right? You learning the body language about the pet in your home or the animals that you're caring for as a pet professional, you are learning their language and what a gift that is. And I think as humans, just because we're both speaking English doesn't mean we're speaking the same language. And I think we
Mhm.
start to assume very quickly that, oh, well, we both speak the same language, but not in the same way that I think how we communicate with animals, because where you grew up is going to shape your, how you speak or your ideals or, things that you believe. And I think we forget about all of that, right? So it's like we're having these conversations just assuming everyone else had the same exact experiences as we did. And that's not always the case. So I think that remembering we're not that different from from the animals I talk a lot about, when we're talking about the stress cycles in dogs and cats and fear free has those beautiful the fear anxiety and stress spectrums, right?
Mhm.
The green and the yellow and the red, right? So we have emotional states as humans that matches up pretty quickly to those as far as like our own flight fight response and things like that. So I think if anything, recognizing like our stress signals and cycles are very similar to the animals that we love so much, as well as being able to slow down and learn someone else's language can be huge, whether that is you're the pet professional supporting the client and learning their language. Can we do a little active listening before we dive into triage mode, whether it's medical triage or behavior consultant triage? Because I think everyone's so excited to help, right? Oh, I got the
Mhm.
answer for that. And you're saying this. They might have been waiting for that appointment for a very long time, and they are excited to share and offload and brain dump these things onto you. So I think sometimes too that recognition of, oh, I need to just be present and listen so I can learn the language of this specific individual in front of me. Because just like we know n equals one forever, right? Like it's every animal in front of us is different, right? Could be the same exact dog species, same exact age, same exact litter. We know that there's still going to be nuances and differences in their behavior, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's giving that same acknowledgement to the humans that we're caring for to say, oh, yeah, right? Like, oh, well, if we're working at a shelter and this dog comes in that was tied to a tree and was outside and it's malnourished and was probably, born as a stray, all of these things. What do you say? Oh, I understand why it's so aggressive. Or, oh, I understand why it's so fearful. Then you have that irate client And you don't think about any of that. You're like, oh my gosh, that person's such a jerk. And why are they yelling at me? I'm trying to get this, report to them as quickly as possible. Or it's not my fault the lab is backed up with results and yada, 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 right?
Yeah.
But what about that person's learned behavior history? What about that person's early life experiences, right? As far as, oh, maybe this isn't about me. Maybe they're trigger stacked and they're having a bad day. Maybe they never learned clear communication, or that was never modeled for them growing up, right? So I think also in that same way, can we give the humans in our life the same benefit of the doubt that we're giving the animals, because they deserve it just as much? And I think that is the path to solutions, regardless of who you're working with in those situations.
I agree. I also think while we can never control another individual's behavior, I think we can set up responses in some ways where when I was a trainer, I had a few colleagues who told me how they just had just the worst clients. Like their clients were just non-responsive and they were annoying and they were just so frustrating. And I would just be amazed and boggled because I had the best clients and I had the most wonderful people and they were kind and they were generous and they were and 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 I'm like, we lived in the same area.
Mm,
And our website didn't say nice people only, and their
right.
website say cranky people only.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of like when, and I'm not trying to blame that trainer in any way, but there is a little bit of self-fulfilling expectation that when we show up and somebody is upset, if we feel like, oh my gosh, it's me and they're mad at me and I have to be defensive and it's not my fault and the lab's backed up, we escalate it. And
Mhm.
if we can be like, wow, whew, that's a lot. Look at you. Oh dear,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
happened? Um, it can come down, but often even if we just sort of hold that stance, they don't come in so hot. Or at
Mhm.
least, because I can't imagine that we didn't have the same number of scheduling errors or website confusion or missed emails or
Mhm.
as any other business. We tried our hardest and we were imperfect.
Yeah.
And we had the most amazing clients. We had like such wonderful people. So I feel like there's thin ice saying that because I don't want to blame anybody for that, but that piece of like learning that other language and having an expectation and recognizing like people are doing the best they can and sometimes the best they can is not so great because
Mhm.
of everything that's going on for them.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, thank you for sharing that because that just resonates so much with me. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, cheering over here as you're sharing that example. And again, I always we got to look at ourselves first, right? Because when we're stressed out, it's really easy to look outward and blame the other person, blame the environment. But I think it's a really huge sign of emotional intelligence to turn inward and say, okay, how am I a piece of the, how am I a cog in this system? How am I contributing it? And yes, maybe I am escalating because I'm getting defensive. Okay, I need to work on that skill. Or maybe I didn't set up clear expectations in my client contract when they were signing up. So that's where these clients are coming from because I'm not setting up clear boundaries and expectations for them as a client in the beginning. And then the other thing that always comes up for me is because whether you're a dog trainer, you are a veterinarian, regardless of how you are helping humans and their pets, there's this. I think number one, we forget how much we've learned.
Oh yeah.
And then you suddenly just want to impart all of that knowledge into the client. Well, that's overwhelming. So then I think, too, people forget that we need to, again, meet the learning needs of that client.
Mhm.
So something we do at Insight for all clients before we even have the first appointment, which is with me, a group orientation, we have them take an 18-question ZBI. It's a caregiver burden survey that's been validated for pet owners. And so now we have a data point because we all have data, right?
Mhm.
If we're talking about animals and science and behavior, we have a data point to say how stressed out is this owner before we add
Yeah.
any help from us. right? Because that gives us a starting block, because the higher the number, the more stressed out they are. So again, that gives you that perspective of, oh, this really isn't me. They're, average caregiver burden is 17 and under, and then severe is 31 and over. And there's a couple in between there, right, of mild and moderate. So if someone comes to us and they're in the 50s, that's serious. So I already know they're probably at the end of their rope. So I am not giving them, nor anybody, a 5-page training homework thing, right? Absolutely not, right? So I'm going to work with that family and say, what feels manageable for you? It's probably not training. It's probably management. What are some things we can put into place that are going to help release some stress for everybody in the home, but not adding like 10 more things to their to-do list? And I think that's the part that I see room for growth in a lot of areas, because again, we want to impart all this knowledge, or we feel, oh, well, I want to add value to this appointment, so I have to make this super long report. You are the value. You and all of the knowledge and all of the time and all of your experience, the appointment time with you is the value. The report is just the recap, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, I think reminding people too, because I think especially when we get into those, and I'm sure you've worked with people the same, well, is that too much to charge for my time, right? We go down those rabbit holes and you're like, absolutely, you need to charge that much because you have this many degrees or this many certifications and you know your stuff. So you need to be compensated for that. So then we feel like, oh, we have to provide extra resources. We have to word vomit all these things at them or put things in the report that we didn't talk about in the appointment. Do not do that, right? So, yeah. So I think that's a hard part too, because then it's like, okay, is it the client or have I overwhelmed the client?
Yeah.
And now they have done 0 things because they didn't know where to start. Then that's my fault as the behavior consultant or their trainer. And I need to ask them why. I need to get curious of like, what was hard about what we talked about last time that made this, then they might say, oh, we went on vacation. Oh, someone died. Oh, someone lost their job. If we don't ask those questions, then that's really easy to assume that they're lazy and they're just, they're just mad at me or they don't care about their dog, which we know none of that is true, right? So I appreciate you sharing that, because that was just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Good.
It is tricky because there's such a tendency, especially in the report, about like don't put something in the report that you didn't say in person. Like that there's a desire to over deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And when we would hire new trainers at All About Dogs, one of the things that I would tell them is, I hired you because you're not normal. Like you went above and beyond and you did a lot, and that's amazing. And please don't expect that of all of our clients. Like, please don't. That what makes you a really great trainer with your dog is that you did all of that. And also, these people have lives and they love their dogs. But they're not going to do the 18,000 things you did that made you catch my eye, that made me go, ooh, keep track of that one.
Yeah.
And this idea of that this Saturday morning, 9:00 class or private lesson is hopefully not the only time we'll see these people.
Mhm.
So we don't have to tell them everything today.
Mhm.
Don't have to tell them everything today.
Yes.
Let's pick the top most urgent need that they have, and let's make that a little bit better.
Mhm.
And always saying, and we have more, and if this doesn't work, I have other suggestions. Like, we'll try this and let me know how it goes, and then we'll try other things. And how does that feel to you? And all of that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I would give that caution, and they would laugh, and I would say, no, but really, because like we all are at risk of this because we want so much to help
Yes.
that we can over deliver in a way that can ruin it. And I'm as guilty of that as anyone. Like, I want to help. So, but it became sort of like the funny joke of like, has Colleen told you you're not normal yet? Yes, she has. So,
I love
but
that.
it's important for us to remember um that we do care about animals in a way that may be a step beyond what other people do at times,
Mhm.
or I don't even want to say it quite like that, but that animals can have absolutely fabulous lives with people who don't fully understand all of the things that you know about animals.
Yes.
So, and that is okay. Like, they can have really good, fulfilling lives where they were loved and cared for without, daily enrichment games or whatever. But if those can help, by all means,
Yep.
throw them in. If the family is having a challenge and that is what's helpful, great. But if the
Mm-hmm.
family is not having a challenge, then we can smile. Isn't
Yep.
that lovely?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love that.
Yeah. So it's an interesting field because it attracts people who are really good at problem solving and helping, like
Mm-hmm.
really smart, clever people become
Mm-hmm.
pet professionals. And they're really good at seeing how even a small shift could make a big difference, particularly in the environmental stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it can feel to them sometimes like that might be hobbling their gifts to say like give less or give
Yep.
slower or take time
Yeah.
or any of that piece, because the desire is sincere and the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge is vast. Both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always say, give them less things to do and see what their feedback is. I have yet to have a client that says, "Oh, you didn't give me enough homework." Right? So until you get to that point where you're like, "Oh, well, then maybe they're going to book with you again sooner, and isn't that nice, right? Like, so you can continue the conversation, so you're not, leaving them stranded. But if they're real go-getters and they get it all done, great, have another session. But otherwise, I've not yet heard, I didn't get enough
Yeah.
homework, right?
Yeah. Most of us have things that can fill any spare moments we have, so we're not eagerly searching for more homework.
Yeah, yep.
So one question I like to ask guests is if I had a magic wand that you could use to bestow a wish or a blessing for pet professionals everywhere, what would you give us?
I think the understanding that you know more about human behavior than you're giving yourself credit for. Kind of circling back to what I said before, but again, when you look at it side by side,
Mhm.
there's just so many parallels, and that's why I was, equally enthralled with learning about human behavior in a social work program as I was learning about animal behavior earlier on in my career, because it was like, oh, this is the same. We just make it really complicated. So I
Indeed.
think if you were trained to watch the body language of an animal, you can do the same thing with the human and get a lot of information, right? Because just because the words are saying one thing, the body language, the facial expression could be saying something else. So I think just those reminders to empower people that are having those hard times, because usually the caregiver burden, the burnout, the compassion fatigue, a lot of times that's coming from the human relationships at
Yeah.
work, whether it is a client, whether it is a coworker, a supervisor, right? All of those different layers that we all have. So I think if you can step back and say, wait a minute, what are my basic animal behavior superpowers? And how can I transfer those to my understanding of humans? And I think you're going to surprise yourself with what that could look like.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you. I just realized I forgot to ask you about your quote, your words that have meaning to you.
Yeah.
And the words that you shared were "just keep swimming" from Dory in Finding Nemo. Tell me a little bit about what that means to you and how that came to be one that you hold on to.
I absolutely love that movie. I have gone scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef, so I actually have kind of a Nemo-esque tattoo on one of my arms. So that movie, I don't know, there was just so many good learning opportunities just within the relationships in that movie, and I just resonated with Dory so much because she does have that positive outlook on life. And I think we forget that as humans. I think that idea of just keep swimming is not toxic positivity. I do not believe, right? Like, let's just say everything's okay to say that it's okay.
Mhm.
No, absolutely not. If things are crappy, you can say things are crappy and we'll move forward. But I think just keep swimming is saying exactly that. If things are tough, keep going. If things are sunshine and rainbows, amazing, keep going. And if you're in the messy middle, that's okay, keep going. And simplifying that, I think, to that is important. So yeah, she resonates with me a lot.
She's awesome. Yeah. So if people want to learn more about you and your work, how could they do that, Valerie?
So I shared all of the links, so those will be in the show notes. I'm working on a website right now. I have a link tree, so that is first line of defense for now. I'm on all the socials, but on my link tree, you will find options for the professional coaching sessions. Also, I try to list some of my upcoming speaking engagements, conferences I'll be at. You'll also find all of the resources for pet owners. All of the human support services through Insight are open to anyone around the world. So, regardless of where you are, you can direct people to those as just an additional olive branch into whatever other resources that you share with pet owners. So I do have people, especially in the support groups, that are coming in from every time zone in the United States and sometimes other countries, which is pretty cool. I also on there have a directory I created last year. So I call it the Vet Social Work and Human Animal Interaction Directory because while veterinary social work is becoming a big thing, there's also other certifications that I think deserve recognition, right? So if you're pet loss death doula, if you have an additional certification in pet loss grief support, maybe you are trained in animal-assisted intervention and therapy dog work. So I really wanted to give some credit to those other ideations of this big, human-animal interaction world that we're in. So I currently have over 100 people internationally on that directory. It is free access. And again, you can use that for yourself, your coworkers, your clients. And I think also to understanding kind of the different layers of the support listed on there. So currently in the United States, you have to, if you're going to work with someone who is a therapist, like a licensed clinical social worker, therapist, counselor, and do one-on-one therapy sessions, they do have to be licensed in the state you live in. And then, if it is some of these other, right? So like what you and I do, where we're doing kind of coaching sessions and support sessions, it's a little bit more under the umbrella of peer support versus like we're not clinicians, right?
Yeah.
So that opens up the door to say, oh, we can work with anyone, which I do kind of like that ability to help anyone anywhere. And then there's people that are listed that, do work at a shelter or, they do have their own business and things like that. So that is a directory of humans that just get it. They get you, they get your profession, they understand the nuances of what you are doing as a animal and pet professional. So sometimes that can make all the difference in the world if you could just have conversations in whatever kind of layer that feels right for you, whether it's the therapist, peer support, coaching, that kind of stuff. I think that can be really just really impactful. And kind of going back to what you're saying too, Colleen, sometimes we don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So pick someone, pick something on there. And I'm sure, like you, I'm happy to meet with people to say, hey, I have a discovery call. Do you want to just chat and see if this is a good fit? If it's not, I will help you find resources that are going to be a better fit, because I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I don't even like tea. I drink coffee, right? So it's like I want. Right. And it's just like finding the right dog trainer, the right veterinarian, the right hairdresser, right? Like finding that person that you really feel like you have that good connection with, that is going to accelerate your healing or your journey on your own, self-care and, everything that you're trying to do for yourself. So I'm very adamant about that. So I don't have to work with you. I will find someone that is a good match if it's not me. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. So
Awesome. Thank you. I will link all that up in the show notes so people will have access to that. And that's a really valuable resource, the directory of so many different people. And that part about people who get it is really interesting to me. I hadn't appreciated how much people appreciated about me until I heard it enough times, where people were like, oh, so when I talk to my therapist, I have to explain all of this part about the work before we can get to the part that I'm stuck on.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah. But it was something that I just took for granted. But it is actually really valuable to talk to somebody who kind of has a starting point of seeing it's not all, puppies and kittens and playing.
Yep.
So that directory is a really valuable resource for that. Well, thank you so much, Valerie. It was so nice talking with you today. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, me too. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm hoping that maybe in the future we can collaborate on something, because
That'd be awesome.
you're up to a lot of really great things. So we'll have to talk again soon.
That would be great. That's our conversation for today. If something we talked about resonated, I invite you to sit with it. Notice what feels true and what you want to explore further. You don't have to have it all figured out to start moving toward what matters. Whatever showed up for you today, clarity, questions, even resistance, trust that it's pointing you towards something important. For more support, join my weekly notes at colleenpilar.com. And until next time, remember, you are enough. Always, just as you are.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.